Okay, vertical video alert, but I just want to walk you through what I figured out. My refrigerator here was freezing up. I should say the freezer over here. And it's almost all gone, but this was completely covered with frost. There was frost all around the door. And I've been doing that for about a week. There's just a little bit of ice left over right there, if I can get it to focus. There we go. It's on there pretty good. There we go. Anyway, it was freezing up on that side, and I thought that's a little strange. So I know sometimes if you get underneath and you pull this grate off, there was all kinds of fuzz way in the back on the condenser coil. And if you don't get good airflow across your condenser coil, you will have all kinds of problems with things freezing up. And shortly after that, we noticed that the ice cream in the freezer was frozen rock solid. And that, of course, makes sense because it was getting things too cold. And then, on the refrigerator side, this was blinking H-1, and that's a code for an over temperature on the refrigerator side. So I took this whole module out thinking that back here there's a vent and there's a little valve or a door that modulates the temperature in here. So I was thinking either the thermocouple's bad or the door back here is frozen shut, the little damper door, or it was stuck, or for whatever reason it wasn't working. So I took this whole module out. They're 1/4-inch bolts in several places. It was actually pretty easy to do. And the door was wide open, and that wasn't the problem. So I got back in the freezer, and I looked back there. I kind of bent that sheet metal in the corner back, but in the back upper corner is where the cold air blows from the freezer into the refrigerator. And the way this thing works is the cold air from the freezer side goes through the vent at the top where that little door modulates the amount of cold air going into the refrigerator, and it should go back into the freezer. And that's where I realized what the problem was, because when I would open this door and open this door at the same time, and I put my hand back here, I would feel cold air coming through. And I thought, well, why is there cold air coming in now? And when I would close the freezer, the cold air would stop. There would be no cold air coming through that vent. As soon as I would open this door, the cold air would flow again through that vent. And then the light bulb went off. I realized this is a sort of like a closed system, so the cold air that's coming in from the top has to have a way to get back into the freezer. And the only way that can be is if there's a cold air return. And back here behind these electrical drawers, if you look back there in the corner, there's the cold air return. And when I stuck my fingers back in there, it was completely blocked with ice. So as soon as I chiseled that ice out, the cold air started flowing into the refrigerator, and within a couple hours it was back down to about 37, 38 degrees, where it was closer to the mid-50s when it started to get warm, because there was no cold air circulating into the refrigerator anymore. So the moral of the story is, get this drawer in here. All right, I'll fool with that later. The moral of the story was, all of the fuzz down there caused the condenser coil to not be able to cool off anymore, which caused the frost to build up on the freezer side, which eventually froze over the cold air return, which caused the overtemp condition in the refrigerator because it could no longer get cold air in it. So, if you ever see that kind of a problem with yours, check out the cold air return. Of course, after you clean the fuzz off from underneath the condenser coil.